I'm Sandy Weathers. I'm the Science Department Chair here at Ridgeland. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about differentiating content. Differentiating content involves addressing the same concepts for your class but adjusting the degree of complexity, and you adjust that degree based on the student's interest, their readiness, or their learning style. And I use this technique when I need to do remediation with my students. Sometimes I do it at the end of a unit. Often I will do it in the middle of the unit. This works best for remediation for me than for teaching new material. I always start with an assessment to determine the type of groupings that I will need and to determine what student goes into which group. For example, if I'm working on the genetics unit, I can give benchmark tests on USA Test Prep. I can choose the questions, the students take the benchmark test, and then they can see their score, and I have a record of their score. I will also use their unit test to get an idea of their understanding of the material. When I do this, I usually get 3 groups. I will have a group that has a good solid understanding of just almost every concept. Then I'll have a group who they will have a good understanding of some but not all of the concepts, or they'll need a little bit more practice. And then I'll have a group that who are struggling and they do not have a good understanding of many of the concepts at all. So then when I get my 3 groups, I create the work and I use Bloom's taxonomy to help create the different levels of work. For my strugglers, we work on the low levels of Bloom. I try to get them to the understanding level. We do some of the remembering level, some of the understanding, and some of the verbs that you could use help you make the work for remembering. And I try to do the understanding, explain, discuss, give examples, summarize, paraphrase. For this struggler group, I work with them at the front of the classroom, separate from the other 2 groups. And I just do direct instruction, one-on-one instruction. We may work genetic problems. I ask them to identify the type of inheritance pattern, discuss the patterns of inheritance. I will work with these students while the other 2 groups are working on their own. For the middle group, I have a variety of assignments from which they can choose. They'll have a record of their benchmark scores and their test scores from the class, so that will help guide them to decide which assignments that they need to complete. Try to use the middle level of Bloom's taxonomy. Try to do most of it at the application level. They'll be solving genetic problems or working with manipulatives. These are good for the kinesthetic students. They may watch animations and write out the script in their own word. These are good for the auditory and visual students. I also try to have them work at the analyzing level to compare and contrast the different types of inheritance pattern. And then I will try to have them do some work at the evaluating level. For example, they can select the type of genetic mutation that's most detrimental, and then they will have to defend their choice with scientific facts. The students may work on worksheets, practice solving problems that I have at different stations. They may work on the computer on USA Test Prep to get additional practice with the genetic problems. And then I have my final group, what I refer to the high-level group. They have a good understanding of all the concepts. And I allow these students to choose a product that they would like to work on, but I want them all to be working at the creation level. They are going to be creating something. And I give them a choice based on their learning style, but all the choices require them to create something. They may make their own genetic problems as if they were working for a textbook company and they create the genetic problems. They may create manipulatives that I might use next year, or the students can use teaching others. They may create their own comic strip using the information that they've learned. They might create a story or another written product. Try to have them do some type of activity that will cause them to create, which is on the revised Bloom, the highest level.